Winning Blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
Good day. Welcome. You are in the lab room. I am your host, Lou, and it is Thursday. And you know what that means? This year in the 2012 season, it is football day. That's what it means. National Football League football, not college football. It is NFL action tonight as the Chicago Bears go to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. Is there a such thing as a must-win Week 2 game? I'm not sure, but this feels eerily close to that for the Green Bay Packers, who stand at 0-1 right now and can't afford to fall 2 games behind the Chicago Bears in that NFC North division. And what would be even more devastating is the fact that they would fall a game behind them in the division and have to travel to Chicago later on in the season to take on these very Bears again at Soldier Field. So if you're the Green Bay Packers, you got to have this one. There's no other way to say it. You can't afford to fall to 0-2 and see the Bears go to 2-0 and 1-0 in the division, having come into your home stadium, Lambeau Field, and take one from you this early in the season. You can't allow that to happen. And so the Packers are going to have to dig deep and find a way to get it done. And they're not a healthy team right now. They're a team that has a lot of questions to answer. Greg Jennings is a game time decision tonight. They don't know if he's going to be able to go. He wants to go, but he hasn't finished the last 2 games he's played in. And so what's the point of putting him out on the field if you're only going to get 7 to 12 snaps out of him before you have to shut him down? You don't want to exacerbate this injury that he has and allow it to continue to linger throughout the season. If you have to sit him down for a whole game, because after you play tonight, it's essentially like a bye week, being that you have the rest of this week off and then you don't play again until Sunday. That might be all he needs to heal fully. And so they might need to shut him down for this game and not allow him to go out there and risk it. And no Greg Jennings. You've seen how ineffective this offense can be without Greg Jennings. Again, they did play the San Francisco 49ers. That is one of the preeminent defenses in the league. And so you can't gauge how the Packers look by what they did against the 49ers, because the 49ers are a special breed of defense. And so it's a little bit different when looking at what they did on Sunday against the 49ers. But when you have Aaron Rodgers looking to go to James Jones, looking to go to Randall Cobb more so than guys like Jordy Nelson and Greg Jennings, and Donald Driver only played in 3 snaps on Sunday. And so there's questions to be asked. What role does Donald Driver play on this Green Bay Packers team? With no Greg Jennings, he should have seen the field a lot more than 3 times. And so where does he play in all of this? Greg Jennings might not be able to go. Who's going to step in and fill that void? Are you going to get the performance out of Jeremichael Finley that you need for this team to be successful? Can Cedric Benson get the running game going this week, as he failed to do so last week against that San Francisco 49ers defense? There are a lot of questions to be asked. Defensively, can this Packers team get it together? They did not look good. They did not perform well against the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday afternoon. They gave up over 100 yards rushing to Frank Gore. They gave up a passer rating of over 100 to Alex Smith. They did not look good on the defensive side of football. And the one thing that the Packers have been known to do over the course of the last 3 seasons is turn teams over. They did not do that against the San Francisco 49ers. And so they have to find a way to get it done against the Chicago Bears. There's no room for margin of error if you're the Green Bay Packers this early in the season. You can't afford to be looking up in the standings at the 2-0 Chicago Bears while you're at 0-1. And let's not forget the Detroit Lions in all of this. The Detroit Lions are sitting right there watching this game and having popcorn and enjoying themselves. They want these two teams to beat the hell out of each other, and they're sitting waiting in the bushes, in the weeds, waiting to strike. If the Packers somehow come out with the victory tonight and each of these teams go to 1-1, now the Lions have a chance to go to 2-0 and leapfrog both of these teams in the division. So, I mean, the Lions are loving what they're seeing going on right now in this division, because they have a prime opportunity to take a step above the rest of the teams in this division. And if the Packers can win this game, now that leaves the Lions and the Vikings, who no one in this division is really afraid of, at 1-0, while the other two teams, who are the favorites to win this division, will be 1-1. And so let's not forget about the Detroit Lions in all of this. This equation has to have the Lions factored in. And so if you're the Packers, you have to win. I mean, the Lions look like a team who can make some noise in this division. The Bears are a much improved team. They're going to be looking to have their say-so in this division. And if you want to repeat as NFC North champions, you have to make a stand tonight and let the rest of this division know that if you're going to win this division, you're going to have to go through the Green Bay Packers to do so. And that's the statement that they need to have made tonight against these Chicago Bears. Looking at it from the Chicago Bears point of view, you have a golden opportunity to separate yourself from the Green Bay Packers. They're not the only team in this division. Again, don't forget about the Detroit Lions and all of this. However, the Green Bay Packers are your prime and chief competitor in this division. If you're the Bears, you feel like you can handle the Detroit Lions. You feel like the Detroit Lions aren't ready for prime time just yet. You feel like you are the monsters of the Midway and you can take care of the Detroit Lions. Your prime and chief competitor in this division, who you're spotlighting, who you have your bullseye on, who is in your crosshairs, is the Green Bay Packers. Let's not kid yourself. You want to make sure that the Green Bay Packers are not around when it's playoff time. They've been a nemesis. They've been a thorn in your side, and they've been the team that kept you from the Super Bowl the last few years, especially 2 years ago when you met them in the NFC Championship game. You despise the Packers. They are your chief rivals, one of the longest tenured rivals in all of pro football. And so you want to be able to step on the Packers' neck right now. You can't squash it, but you can do some serious damage to the Packers season, having them drop the first 2 home games of the season. You only get 8 home games. And if the Packers drop the first 2, they're in some serious trouble. And that's what the Bears have a chance to do to the Packers, is put their season in great jeopardy. Not many teams come back from 0-2 to make the playoffs on a yearly basis. And so it'll be very tough for the Packers to find themselves out of this hole if they were to dig themselves in a hole. And the Bears have a chance to be the ones with the shovels digging the hole for the Packers to fall into. And so this is going to be a great matchup tonight. 2 teams hungry for NFC North supremacy. 2 teams looking to establish themselves as elite teams in the NFC. And I tell you what, the Chicago Bears look like a prime candidate to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. It's early, and that says a lot, especially after 1 week of the season. But I tell you what, the Bears last year, before the injuries took effect, were one of the most dangerous teams in the NFC, and they got better over the offseason. You have question marks about this defense, especially the health of Brian Urlacher. If there's no Urlacher, there's no middle linebacker on this team. There's no backup. Then you start shuffling around linebackers because I don't trust Blake Costanzo, and you shouldn't trust him. He's not someone you want to rely on at the middle linebacker position. And so Urlacher's health is an issue. Peanut Tillman, he has a shin injury. He's been limited in practice all week. They don't know if he's going to play tonight. And so the Bears have questions of their own on the defensive side of the football. And then again, you look at this offensive line. They're not out of the woods yet. That Indianapolis Colts defense early in that football game got pressure on Jay Cutler early, and they continued to put pressure on him until Matt Forte was able to loosen up that defense with the running game and back them off a little bit. And then the line got comfortable and was able to protect Jay Cutler. This line still has question marks, though. And so the Bears have questions of their own to answer, but the Bears bring to the table right now a more well put together team than the Packers do. And that's saying a lot because the Packers were a juggernaut last year on the offensive side of the football, so much so that they covered up for the deficiencies of that defense. Even though the defense forced a plethora of turnovers, they still were a defense that was dead last against the pass and dead last overall in total defense in the NFL. And so this Packers team last year was good because of the offense, not because of the defense. And the Bears, they're a good football team because both sides of the ball are equally as effective. And so I think right now the Bears are the better team. But if you ask me who has the most potential to win, it's the Packers. And so this is why this is going to be a great matchup tonight, because you don't know which team is going to show up. The Packers this season, we've seen Dr. Jekyll. We haven't seen Mr. Hyde quite yet. And so are you going to get the good Packers, the dominant Packers on the offensive side of the football, the Packers that has Charles Woodson flying around the football field, forcing turnovers and getting the ball back to Aaron Rodgers and that offensive group who are scoring points, who are scoring touchdowns? Or are you going to see the Green Bay Packer team that we saw a week ago who struggles to put the ball in the end zone, who looks out of sync, who are dropping passes, committing penalties, turning over the football? Are we going to see that team, or are we going to see the explosive Packers team who were putting up 35, 40 points a week in the 2011 season? We don't know. But it's going to be interesting to find out because the Bears and the Packers usually play a tough, tight ball game. And so don't expect a lot of fireworks in this game. Expect a tight game between two teams who know each other all too well, who are going to battle to the end. And it's going to be a close game. And honestly, I don't know if the Bears can come into Lambeau. It's just so tough to come into Lambeau Field and get a victory. The 49ers were able to do so. And I think that the 49ers are a better football team than the Chicago Bears are, especially on the defensive side of football. And that's where you have to be strong if you're going to play these Green Bay Packers. You have to be elite on the defensive side of the football to slow this Green Bay Packers offense down. And I'm not quite sure the Bears are elite on defense. I think they're a solid defensive unit who gets pressure on the quarterback, but by no means are they elite. They give up plays. They were gashed last week in the run game a few times by the Colts. And the Colts did move the ball in certain instances and in spurts up and down the field. Again, a young football team, the Colts are, and they struggled to score touchdowns, and they struggled to make the Bears pay for their mistakes. But the Colts did move the football against this Bears team, and so the Packers can move the football on them. But it's just a matter of which Packers team is going to show up. As much as I want to give the Chicago Bears the nod in this game and say that they're ready to take that next step toward becoming NFC North champions in this division, I just can't allow myself to think that they're going to waltz into Lambeau Field and get away with a W. The Packers are a desperate team right now, and I think they realize the magnitude of this early season ball game. I don't think they're going to allow this game to slip through their fingers. They need this game. They know that they can't fall to 0-2 in this division behind the Chicago Bears and 0-1 in the division, knowing that they have to travel to Soldier Field later on in the season to try to get back a game that they lost at home. They can't afford to have that happen. They know what's at stake tonight, and I think the Green Bay Packers are going to come out hungry and ready to protect their home field advantage and get a W and get in the win column in the 2012 season. And so for all the things that I've mentioned about the Packers and their struggles in the offseason, dating back to last season, at the end of the season, into the postseason, in the preseason, and into the regular season week 1, for all those struggles, this is a good Green Bay Packers team. And teams around the league would kill to have the struggles that the Packers are having right now. Yet the Packers struggle, lose a game, yet they're still an explosive offense with one of the best players, if not the best player in all of pro football. And so with that being said, while the Bears have pieces on their team that are elite, that can get the job done, I just don't see the Packers allowing this game to get away from them because it's too important and they know what's at stake tonight. And thus, I have the Green Bay Packers getting it done against the Chicago Bears 27-20 on Thursday Night Football, under the bright lights and on national television. They know what they have to do, and even if they don't have Greg Jennings tonight, it's going to hurt, but they got to get it done, and I think players are going to step up and make plays, and I think the Green Bay Packers are going to find a way to get it done on Thursday Night Football and get to 1-1, get to 1-0 in the division, and keep pace with the Chicago Bears and just stay a hair behind the Detroit Lions in this division and allow themselves to strike when they get the opportunity to do so. So that's going to do it. That's going to be a touchdown. Go ahead, throw it up. And I want to tack on this quick extra point. It's funny because you read a lot of articles, you're following what's going on around the league, and we talked about Hard Knocks, and this will probably be the last time that you hear me reference Hard Knocks because the season has started, and Hard Knocks is really a training camp phenomenon. It's not something that lingers on into the season. But J.J. Watt just came out recently and said that he learned the cadence and the snap count of the Dolphins from watching Hard Knocks. And I already had said that Hard Knocks was really on life support at this point because of all the transactions and transgressions of the Miami Dolphins locker room and things that went on during training camp for the Miami Dolphins. Teams don't want these kinds of things out in the press. We're talking about the Chad Johnson incident. You're talking about Carlos Dansby speaking out about the Miami Dolphins brass and the way they've handled the Chad Johnson situation and Vontae Davis being traded. It's just a lot going on that teams really don't want this kind of information being divulged out to the public. Even though you know what you signed up for, it's hard to imagine all these things could happen during the course of training camp and be out in the public's eye. And it's not beneficial to the franchise, even though you're garnering a lot of attention by doing Hard Knocks. It's still not something that benefits your franchise by way of attention. And a lot of the attention that you get from Hard Knocks is normally negative attention. And a lot of times people say that any attention or any press is good press, but that's not always the case, especially in the National Football League. And so I don't see teams wanting to do Hard Knocks. And then J.J. Watt coming out and saying, hey, I learned the Dolphins cadence and snap count from Hard Knocks, from watching them on Hard Knocks and seeing how they practice. This is just another nail in the coffin of Hard Knocks. Don't be surprised if we never see this show aired for another season again because there's just too many things coming out against this show to make it viable for a team to want to do. And again, you have to be desperate for media attention. You have to be trying to sell tickets and get butts and seats and get teams or get players or get fans to generate buzz about your franchise to do Hard Knocks. And so it's going to be tough for Steve and Ed Sable and that group in NFL Films to find a team desperate enough to want to allow themselves to be under the spotlight and under scrutiny with the Hard Knocks series. And so that's going to be the extra point for the day. And I hope you enjoyed this show. I gave you a preview. This is the start of week 2 of the regular season. And I'm looking to do big things this week. And it starts tonight. It starts on Thursday. It starts with Bears and Packers. I need this one. I need this one to start me off on the right foot. Last week, we got off on the wrong foot with the Giants and Cowboys game, with the Cowboys coming out on top. That was a unforeseen circumstance there. And so this game, I cannot have the same thing happen. Those fortunes must be turned around, and it starts tonight. I need the Packers to do what it is that they need to do. If they do not win, it wouldn't surprise me. But again, the Packers are the desperate team here. The Bears are playing with house money right now. They won their first game. The Packers did not. And so if the Bears lose, they go to 1-1, but they're even with the Packers. They're playing with house money. If they win, they're up 2-0 in the division, and the Packers are 0-2, and now the Packers have an uphill battle to climb. And the Bears are now at the top of the mountain looking down, waiting to see what the Lions do over the weekend, waiting to see what the Vikings do. But now they're the hunted if they can get this W. And so I think the Packers, they know what's at stake. They know that they can't afford to have a letdown tonight and lose another home game. This is their second home game of the season already. And they started out the season with the first 2 games being at home. You only get 8 of these. They only have 6 remaining after tonight. You can't afford to drop your first 2. And so the Packers have to have this one, and I believe they will get it by the score of 27-20. And so we'll come back tomorrow. We'll talk about this game briefly, and then we'll get into previewing the rest of the games over the weekend that are coming up in this week 2 regular season of the 2012 season. And so enjoy the game tonight. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about them and then talk about the rest of the games coming up this upcoming weekend. And I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Hit me up in the inbox in the lab room at gmail.com. I'm on Facebook. Like me on Facebook, In the Lab Room. I'm on Twitter, In the Lab Room, at In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.